This is Common Sense Radio. Straightforward and no excuses.
All right. Come on now.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Call me crazy.
Oh, yeah.
What I said was perfectly right and spot on accurate.
Boy's got a mouth like a cannon, always shooting it all.
Stop.
Got it.
Yeah, stop. I mean, you're way off script.
Got it in me. Gonna quit until it all comes out.
Hey, boy!
Been a long education.
Yeah, you know, it's not cynical. It's common sense.
Pay attention to me when I'm talking to you.
I'm gonna rock the nation. Rock the nation.
Genuine, accountable, and raw. Here is Steve Gruber.
It's Thursday, my friends. Welcome to it. Big Thursday ahead. So much to talk about. And really, I guess the only place to really start today is that it's sad in a, not in a funny sort of way, just in a sad and mournful sort of way. But do you remember when Barack Obama, the president of the United States, mocked Mitt Romney in a 2012 presidential debate for his stance that Russia was America's primary geopolitical foe? The 1980s called to want their foreign policy back, said Obama, making fun of Mitt Romney. The mainstream media clamored with glee as Obama had made mincemeat of his challenger, they declared. The problem was then and is today, as I told you after that debate, Obama had no idea what he was talking about or what he was doing. He had made a mockery of our foreign policy ever since. In May of 2012, Obama said he would work with the Russians to ease Bashar al-Assad out of power in Syria. How utterly foolish that anyone fell for that. Now, under the guise of fighting ISIL, Russian bombers are slamming anti-Assad rebels into submission with firepower from the air and sea. And if you didn't hear, the Russians ordered the United States to get its warplanes out of Syria. Vladimir Putin, just 2 days after sitting down with Obama at the United Nations in New York, ordered bombing runs all over Syria. He clearly sees Obama as a complete weakling that will do nothing about it, which sounds about right to me. And while we're at it, let's not forget Hillary Clinton's big red reset button that she hit with the Russians. Remember that joke? And I thought, how juvenile when I saw that the first time. And it may have looked juvenile then, but it looks, well, borderline criminal now. In fact, our entire foreign policy may border on treason at this point. If you ever wondered what a collapsing foreign policy might look like, just turn on a network newscast over the rest of today or tomorrow. We have no foreign policy to speak of, certainly not one that's respected by anyone. On the program today, we'll have Michael Daugherty. He'll be here to discuss China getting a state dinner despite the fact they're hacking us all the time. Plus, the Russians also involved with hacking Hillary Clinton's emails, potentially. We'll have a conversation there. Todd Wood might be joining us here in a few minutes. Todd Wood is our roving reporter from the Washington Times in the Ukraine, talking to soldiers there. We'll find out what the latest is with soldiers from Ukraine and Russia and what's going on there. We'll also visit with Congressman Tim Walberg a little bit later today. Dozens of emails in the State Department's latest release of Hillary Clinton emails contain information classified by the department. The release includes nearly 3,900 new emails. Of them, more than 200 have B1 markings, which means they contain classified information. Which means what she's been telling us all along, bogus. It's not some vast right-wing conspiracy. It's her own arrogance. Anne Marie Slaughter, director of the state's Office of Policy Planning, lamented in an email conversation that included Clinton on the antiquated nature of the agency's IT infrastructure, writing, "No one uses a state-issued laptop, and even high officials routinely end up using their own home email accounts to be able to get their work done quickly and effectively." Former State Department Chief of Staff Cheryl Mills replied, "As someone who attempted to be hacked, yes, I was one. I am not sure we want to telegraph how much folks do or don't do off-state mail because it may encourage others who are out there." Clinton was on the message chain through that entire exchange. All of the messages were written by Clinton or sent by others to the private email account she used as America's top diplomat, which continues to follow her campaign. She's in real trouble here. And that's not going away. And let me give you another example of that. The National Education Association. The National Education Association poised to endorse Hillary Clinton's embattled presidential campaign, but it may mean little because there is widespread pushback from the rank and file who want the nation's largest union to back the open Marxist Bernie Sanders. Now that makes a lot of sense. We want the nation's largest teachers union to embrace Marxism and socialism and communism and tell kids that everything's free and the government provides for all. That's what we want the National Education Association to do, lockstep with Stalinist mentalities. Leadership of the 3 million member teachers union, like the smaller American Federation of Teachers, earlier this summer, has heard from angry members who believe the upstart Sanders, a Vermont senator, like I said, an avowed Marxist, is the best person to represent them. And, actually that makes a lot of sense. For a lot of teachers I've dealt with recently, that makes actually a lot of sense. You might as well be represented by those people you identify with. And unfortunately, in the teachers' lounges of America today, that's more often a Marxist than anybody else. Many state leaders and rank-and-file members are planning to protest the NEA's early endorsement, which is expected this week, with many claiming the public backing is meant to bolster Clinton's foundering and floundering campaign and does not represent the sentiment of the union's majority. I, as many colleagues, am upset that this is a possibility. That's an NEA member angry about the union's pending endorsement of Hillary Clinton. Yeah, it's too bad. You're also probably the same guy who ran your mouth and said that those that don't believe in politics should give union dues anyway. So live with it. You create the monster, you live with the monster. And the NEA, on many days, is exactly that, a monster. Cares little about your children and much more about money and power. This part of the program brought to you by Mesa. Good business, good health, and great schools. Good business, good health, and great schools. Mesa bringing you this hour of the program here. It's the Steve Gruber Show on a Thursday. If you'd like to join the conversation, it's 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966. We'll be right back.
Getting your day started with news from around the state and around the world. Common Sense Radio. This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Generals gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. Evil
18 after the hour. It's Thursday on the Steve Gruber Show. We talked about the 2012 presidential debate where Barack Obama mocked Mitt Romney for suggesting Russia was our biggest geopolitical foe. Just a few days ago, Marco Rubio pointed out that he believed that within a few weeks, Russia would be flying military missions in Syria, not to take out ISIS, no, but rather to take out those opposed to President Assad. It looks like Marco Rubio was right on the money as well and knew exactly what he was talking about. Now our good friend Todd Wood is on the ground in Ukraine this morning, where we go live to the Ukraine, which we have done before. Todd Wood there doing research for his next article for the Washington Times. Todd, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me back on, Steve.
Well, give me an idea. You're as close to it as a lot closer than we are, for sure. What is your sense of things with the Russian military and different things that are going on?
Well, Ukraine, as I wrote this morning in the Washington Times, the war is basically over here. I mean, Ukraine is silent. Putin has pulled back resources. The shooting stopped. The weapons are being removed from the front line. So there is definitely a lull or an end in the fighting here. And I take that to be basically that Putin is building up in Syria to deal with that conflict. I don't think the Kremlin can really afford two conflicts at once. And so, here it's quiet, but it's definitely ramping up in the Middle East.
So he's moving his resources from Ukraine back to Bashar al-Assad is what you're suggesting, and that would make sense. Make no mistake, the Russians, even today, have no chance of matching up against the American military, except for the fact that we seem to have no will. The Americans have no will and no foreign policy to speak of, leaving us at a distinct disadvantage. At least that's my reading of it. What's yours?
Oh, I would agree with that. I think that, Putin still has forces on the other side of the border of Ukraine, but, the real issue is money, I think, and that is what he's doing in Syria has got to be very expensive, basically an expeditionary force down there with aircraft, troops, missile defense, and that has to be a drain on their budget, and I think that's the real pinch point for them right now.
So, okay, what do you expect to have happen here? Obviously, people like Mitt Romney were correct about their observations of and Marco Rubio more recently very clear about his observations of the Russian intent in the Middle East. Obviously, Russia has warships there. They have planes from their Air Force there running sorties right now. I think once Russia gets that deep into Syria, I don't think they ever leave. And I think that creates a permanent footprint for the Russians in the Middle East and gives them quite a bit of control in the region.
I completely agree. There's been talk that Putin may try to get Assad out of there and find somebody else. That's just not going to happen. The Assad regime, his father as well, has been a long-time Russian ally, way back to Khrushchev, and that's their anchor in the Middle East. Their port at Tartus, where they have ships. Now they have air bases. You're exactly right. There's no way they're moving out of there. And they also are building an air defense wall around the region, which can affect Israel, our operations in the area, and they've basically told us to get our Air Force out of the region. So, no, they are reestablishing themselves as a major geopolitical player in the Middle East militarily.
Is Barack Obama really this incompetent, or is this by design? And because you have to wonder, could you be that bad at it? I mean, with Hillary Clinton, they hit the reset button with the Russians. That worked out just famously well. Then you've got John Kerry, who has done, a just as admirable job as Hillary Clinton in accomplishing absolutely nothing. I mean, he came out last night with the Russian foreign minister, his counterpart, to say, "We've agreed that we can talk." Well, gee, that's quite a mesmerizing comment. We have agreed that we can talk is basically all that was said. So nothing was agreed to. Nothing found a conclusion. And it makes Barack Obama look even more foolish than he has before, to me.
Well, I've wondered about that myself. I've come to the conclusion that, yes, they are incompetent, but two, they just don't care. I don't
that's
think
my
he cares
point.
About American power. I don't think he cares about our ability to project power. In fact, I think he'd be very happy with it reduced significantly. I think that's his agenda, and I just don't think he gives a flip as to what happens to America's national security.
Yeah, it's already been reduced significantly. Obviously, look at what Russia does. Russia does whatever it wants. So do the Iranians, so do the North Koreans, so do the Syrians, and the list goes on and on. We've also just lost territory in northern Afghanistan that should have been well secured. And Barack Obama, that's my point. Is he that incompetent, or is it more by design? And you put it a different way. He just doesn't care. He'd like to see America's power diminish. So that would be by design, by intent. And if it is his intent, then he has been very successful.
Yeah, you're right. Unfortunately, that's correct. The next president is going to have a big job on his hands. And I hope that somehow the Democratic Party can be held accountable for his just pathetic moves in the geopolitical chessboard. It's just ridiculous. And our children are going to suffer for it, and that's what bothers me.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that we're paying a price for it. Todd, how long are you going to be there in Ukraine?
I'm in Mariupol right now on the front down on the Sea of Azov near Crimea. I'm heading back to Kiev tomorrow, and most likely we'll be leaving a few days after that.
Yeah, the beauty of it is how clean the phone line is. I mean, the fact that we can sit here and talk to you, you're literally on the other side of the planet, and we sit here and have a conversation about the comings and goings of the military or anything else for that matter, and you sound perfect, and I appreciate you checking in today.
Thank you. It's the beauty of Skype, Internet, voice over IP, I guess. And let me just mention, if anybody wants to check out my stuff, they can go to my website, ltoddwood.com.
That's ltoddwood.com, and I would suggest strongly you do check it out. And we'll put that up on our Facebook page, also on stevegruber.com, ltoddwood.com. Todd, thank you so much for checking in. We'll talk soon.
All right, Steve. Take care. Bye.
There you have it. From the Washington Times, just out there in the Ukraine, just checking in on the Steve Gruber Show. He wasn't even on the schedule. He called and said, you know, guys, I should talk to you this morning because we have big things going on. We'll be right back. It's Thursday on the Steve Gruber Show.
The Steve Gruber Show. American values with Midwestern common sense.
It's now 33 after the hour. Thanks for stopping in on this Thursday. Hillary Clinton's email mess continues to get, messier. More emails, more classified information, more denials, more cover-up, more garbage, and more people trying to break in. It seems the Russians tried to break in a handful of times, and that's very predictable. Michael Daugherty here, senior writer for Cyber Defense and board member at Snoop Wall, and a world traveler, and all-around good guy. Michael Daugherty, welcome back to the program.
Good morning, sir.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. So how's Hillary doing?
Hillary's, nothing's changed. She's in a parallel universe.
Apparently.
It's unbelievable, but it's not unbelievable. I mean, what's going on with the Russians trying to get into her server is nothing more than exactly what they successfully did to, the State Department and the White House, and that is these phishing emails. People think there's some high-tech, new concocted type of technology. No, this just relies on human error and slide in the back door, and they're relentless, and they just try to knock on her door like they successfully got in the State Department. And
so they're just trolling around. They bait the hook. They troll around. They try to get somebody to bite on it, and every now and then, they do.
Yeah, it's amazing because, we're just chocked full of brilliant people that are great in cyber defense in this administration. Just ask Putin. They're doing to her server what they are going to do to Syria. So, shame on us if we believe her and them.
Well, at least we hit the reset button. At least we had that going for us.
Well, and there's nothing like a good visual to make you feel safe in the world.
Right, if that's not used in a campaign commercial going forward, come on. All right, so here we are. Again, another pile of emails comes out with 3,900 new emails, a couple of hundred of which have information that's not supposed to be disseminated across the universe, and yet there it is. Does she have any chance here, and do you actually happen to know what the penalty might be for all of these emails not being handled properly?
Well, you can take worst-case scenario, but then you got to put the Clinton thing, factor in. The big thing about this is going to be not so much the actual act, but the cover-up of the actual act, because it's spreading to Huma and Cheryl Mills and all these other people, because this is it's a full team effort when you're Operation Clinton, and it's all just you believe. You're paranoid. You believe the world's coming after you. You think you're right, and you think you're better, so then you think you can lie. And what they've done about all this top-secret stuff is they've shown that they'll even put national security head behind their own self-preservation. And these team of people, once it breaks, it should fall. I don't think she'll ever go to jail. I just don't know how, but I think maybe other people around her can. I just find it hard to believe. Probation. They'll tie it up so hard, they'll push so hard, it would have to take a Republican in the White House and really some real damage being shown. So far we're seeing risk, but we're not seeing damage.
Well, and the thing is, some Republican will probably, lose their spine because they'll say, well, if we go after her, they're going to come after us sometime when one of our folks is over the line doing something. So they'll let them all walk. That's the silliness of it all. They hate each other, but they'll protect each other because, snakes of a feather or something like that.
And you see that all the time in all sorts of high-level type of malfeasance. You see it all the time. It's the what if. So people just, whistle past the graveyard. And that's the job, I know, get ready to laugh, that's the job of the media that we don't have right now. Because I say, if Richard Nixon was president today with this much media scrutiny, he'd finish 2 full terms, no problem.
Yeah, 2 full terms, no problem, and probably get a 3rd term if he wanted it, even though it's illegal, right?
Because look at comparative. I mean, what did he do compared to these guys? Oh, he knew of a break-in to get some papers.
Yeah, that's it. That's all he knew. He knew about a break-in of some papers, and he lied about it, or whatever he did.
He didn't send everything over to China, or he didn't say, come on in. Hey, no problem.
Right.
I mean, we're just so – all these people are so concerned about their image. He's running around – I mean, it is so bad with Obama right now. It reminds me of that movie Aliens, the second one, where the guy – put everyone in to die, and finally Sigourney Weaver took over the ship. I mean, that's where he's just paralyzed. I mean, Putin is making him look like an absolute buffoon on the stage. This is who's supposed to tighten us up in cyber defense? It's terrifying.
Maybe Sigourney Weaver is available still, just to come out of retirement and actually run something right. Because what we're doing here is no better than the pretend that they do in Hollywood half the time. I watched John Kerry walk out with the Russian foreign minister, his counterpart from Russia yesterday, and say, we have agreed, and make it sound like it's this big thing, we have agreed to talk. And so what? I mean, that's all I got out of it. They have agreed to talk. Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. I mean, that's why they had Putin. Everyone's here on the weekend or low media days. That they had China there on last Friday, because how much attention is that going to get? You got the Pope, and you got the lucky break on Boehner resigning. I mean, no one's even paying attention. And then they come out with a document saying we're not going to hack each other. It's insulting.
I believe him.
Serious. What's going on right now?
No, I believe him. Yeah. Well, Michael, why you got to be a hater like that? Why you be such a doubter?
I'm sorry. I don't know. It's time.
These are serious, high-level people. These are really serious, high-level people that really need need our respect at this point. Anyhow,
it spins off to another topic. Let's talk about. I don't know. When you've got their hands so jammed in the cookie jar, they either go silent or change the subject.
Yeah, well, and usually it's change the subject. But here's you point out something that's exactly right. So many things going on, so much controversy and conflict, and there's a flurry of other things. Hey, take your eye off the ball here. Look here, 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 here. I mean, any given day doing this radio program. I mean, there's 6 different leads I could go with, and they're all legitimate. And I'm being straight about that. 6 different things any given day that, 10 years ago or 15 years ago would have been a legitimate conversation for the day. We can't even keep up around here because there's, the Clinton scandals and the hacking and then what's said over here, and then the Russians are doing this and the Syrians are doing that, and Iran and Afghanistan are in trouble. I mean, think about it.
And I don't know what it's going to take the American public to get that if we don't be proactive and in there, we are... The social experiment, the national world security experiment, year 7 now, of being nice to everybody and thinking they'll empathize and think we're wonderful and they'll love us and then they'll leave us alone, isn't working. And people forget how many people Assad has murdered in Syria. I mean, entire cultures of Christians were murdered like 7-8 years ago. I mean, they're just community gone. Just gone, and it's terrifying how they're teaming up. And who do you see? What are they doing now? We're going to go in and bomb ISIS, and then they're not bombing ISIS; they're bombing people that are against Assad. That should be when's the media going to realize we totally screwed up? We've got us in a dangerous situation. The Middle East can turn upside down. It's amazing to me. Terrifying. What did Thomas Friedman say now?
Yeah. Michael Daugherty, always a pleasure, and we'll talk soon.
All right, take it easy.
Thanks, my friend. All right, there you have it. Michael Daugherty here on the Steve Gruber Show. We'll be right back.
Genuine Michigan common sense on display every day.
When the lights go down in the city and the sun shines on the bay, I wanna be there.
All right, welcome back to it. We were talking about foreign policy in large part and cybersecurity in large part and the failures that we have witnessed time and again in large part. But what about the divide between America and Washington in general? Gallup polling has done a piece. 75% of the United States see widespread government corruption. 75% of Americans see widespread government corruption. This figure's up from 2 and 3 back in 2007. Now it's 75%. Wow. Seton Motley joining us, the president of Less Government. President Obama further widening that gap between D.C. and America. Seton Motley, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was 66%. It actually ticked down 1% in 2009. So during the age of Obama, it's gone from 2 and 3 to 3 and 4.
Well, and that's weird because, every time I see Hillary Clinton talk, I trust her.
The Obama administration, obviously. You can't jam down policies that benefit your donors for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. The American people aren't as dumb as people like to think they are, and they may not
we elected
follow
Obama twice
as intensely as we do. So we kind of have a tendency to think, they're stupid because they don't follow it as maniacally as we do. But they vibe it and get the sense of what's going on. And when 80% of the green energy, $80 billion in the stupid stimulus, went to Democrat donors, they know this. They understand this. When the GM auto bailout was basically a bailout of billions of dollars to the United Auto Workers unions, who give money to Democrats. They know that, which again, of course, is perpetrated with this Planned Parenthood discussion. Why do the Democrats rigidly insist on giving them $500 million? Because they get it back in campaign contributions.
They get it back directly in
know
votes.
This, they see this, they understand this, and they just rather than trying to fix it, unfortunately, because of how government schools train them, they just tune it out.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me give you some examples here. And you say that, Americans aren't as stupid as politicians want them to think. Well, you may say that, but we did elect Barack Obama to a second term. We did mock Mitt Romney for pointing out that Russia was our biggest geopolitical foe.
We didn't. Wait a minute.
Well, now, hold on.
Didn't.
Hold on. The National Education Association, the largest teachers union in America, is not going to endorse Hillary Clinton, but rather Bernie Sanders, because an open Marxist is who our teachers want to support. Free college for all and free schooling for all. How dumb is America again, Seton?
Well, but again, you're talking about the D.C. establishment participants. The National Education Association, this is one of the big lies that's been going on in this election cycle. It finally occurred to me to look up the voting records of Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton when they were both in the Senate. Bernie Sanders was 0.1% further left than Hillary Clinton. So if he's an avowed socialist, what the heck is she? And by the way, they were 7th and 8th among senators. There are 6 senators more left than both of them.
Yeah.
At least back in 2008 when they were both in the Senate. So look, the American people have just tuned it out. I think they've given up on the fact that this can be fixed, which I really honestly don't blame them for. And you combine that with the fact that for 40 years, government schools have trained these people to not pay attention. George Carlin, the comedian, may he rest in peace, had a great line. He said, the government doesn't want smart people. They want people just smart enough to do the paperwork and run the machines and shut up. And that's what government schools train people to do. and they tune it out. They don't pay attention. And listen, Christian conservatives do this. A bunch of conservatives do this. They realize it may be beyond their control. When Tea Party activists get involved and try to fix it, not only do the Democrats attack them, but Republicans, the establishment, attacks them. So at some point, people just go, I'm just going to do the best I can in my little orbit because I can't fix what's going on in Washington.
Well, that I kind of feel that way sometimes. I can understand where people are coming from at that point. I mean, at some point you feel, like I say, coming here and looking at all the things going on, you feel a little bit overwhelmed sometimes. You say, listen, I can't control all that. And in any given day here, I could look at 6 different things that would be a lead story that 10 or 15 years ago would have been a lead story in a conversation for the day. But whether it's John Boehner or Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton's scandal, or there are things going on in Russia or Afghanistan or Iraq or wherever, and we're overwhelmed with all these things. And people do want to just kind of, throw the blanket over their head and say, good enough. I'm just going to hide for the rest of it.
And again, we do this for a living. We focus on it all the time. Most Americans have regular day jobs and have regular, and families and all that. They don't. The amount of time in a day they have to dedicate to this stuff is a lot less than we do because we turned an avocation into a vocation, and so they see it so overwhelmingly corrupt as they do in the Gallup poll, and say, what am I supposed to do? And then they see some people rise up and try to fix it, the Tea Party, and they're attacked by everybody in D.C., Democrats, Republicans, the media, everybody vilifies them. And they say, well, that's what you get for trying to fix it.
Yeah. And so where do we go for here? Seriously, how do you undo the 7 years?
Look, we're $18.5 trillion in debt and rising rapidly. We have $7 trillion in fake money that's been printed and not in circulation because the economy's bad. As soon as the economy gets better, that money's going to go into circulation. What's going to happen with inflation then? The interest rates are going to have to go up, which means our debt, the $18.5 trillion we owe money on, the interest rate on that is going to go up. People know this. People understand this. What are they supposed to do? I think what we've got to do is fortify the block of representatives in Congress that actually are trying to fix this. Give them more reinforcements so we can overturn the McConnell-Boehner block of leadership. And
you call that leadership? Seton Motley.